Hello everybody, this is Carly Thompson. I am one of the Advanced Learner Specialists in Idaho at the Idaho Virtual Academy. And I have the other teacher that works with me is Dr. Brandy Maynard. She is on the session with us today too. And she is going to be monitoring the chat box for us to be able to be answering questions as we go throughout the session today. So just in case if I'm talking and not paying attention to the chat box as much, she should be able to be plugging away and answering those questions there. Just a couple of things to get started off with. We just want to know where you guys are at. So I've got over here your pin tools on the top left-hand side of your page. Let me get my pointer button. You can click on that one that's the second one down and show us where you guys are. If you're outside the U.S., you may want to type that over around here. You can use the A button and type it. But this is where Brandy and I are located. I'm down here in southeast Idaho on a farm. My husband is a farmer. We raise spuds, and we live kind of down by the river and just a real remote area, Pingree, Idaho. I don't even know if we have 500 people in our town. We're pretty small. And then Dr. B is in up here at the top of the state, and I'm going to let her take the mic and just introduce herself. Let me make sure that she has those moderator privileges really quickly so I can have her take the mic and share with us. Okay, here you go.
Hi everybody, I'm just so glad that you're here today, and I'm looking forward for my own self to learn some things from Carly on how to deal with the readers that I have in my house. So I'm very excited for today's session. Welcome everybody.
Okay, thank you, Brandy. All right, guys, well, just in case, I always have parents that want to have a copy of our presentation. So if you would like to do that, you can go up to the top left-hand side of your screen, excuse me, where it says File. You can go there and go down to the word Print, and you can print the entire whiteboard. And then that way you can have all the pages to our session today if you would like to do that. So you can do that right now. And let's go ahead and get started with our presentation. And you know, this was something that I have been wanting to do a session on for a while. I have a third grade daughter that has read all of the Fablehavens, all of the Percy Jacksons, all of the Harry Potters, and she is just needing, she is a voracious reader that just loves to read, and she really loves fantasy, and I've been trying to get her outside of her genre a little bit, and so I've started to get to the point that I'm like, what else am I going to have her read and, you know, share with her to help her be able to read stuff that is not too adult. You know, you start getting into some of those books when they're reading larger chapter books that'll have some teen-focused emotional issues, and she's still just a third grader. She's 10 years old, and so I really don't want her exposed to that stuff yet. And so that's what I was really excited, because I thought, you know, this is not only going to help a lot of people out there, but this will be a session that's going to help me. So it was just taking the time to do some research and finding everything in one spot for you. So, okay. First off, our objectives today are that we're going to define and understand what asynchronous development is. I'm going to discuss with you tips for managing gifted students' asynchronous development, as well as review book lists that can help satisfy the young gifted reader's thirst for complex, lively stories. So, let's discuss a little bit about what is normal. If you were to look at this bell curve, okay, this is your standard bell curve, and in the middle over here, you find the majority of students, okay, and that is why they term it normal, because the majority of your kids are right here, right? If you look to the left of the bell curve, you can see over here your lower achieving students. They can be 1 to 2 standard deviations below the norm, and it totally makes sense that we need to offer these students accommodations to help them achieve. In fact, it's completely unheard of not offering accommodations for these kids, right? Okay, so now if you look over here at these students who are 1 to 2 standard deviations above the norm, it only makes sense that these students need to have accommodations made for them as well in order to achieve at their potential just as much as these students need accommodations to achieve at their potential. So it's really, we like to term gifted ed as the flip side of special ed. And it's just, I am completely baffled why there are not more accommodations that are made for these GT kids. If they're that far off of the norm or the bell curve, why do we not offer those accommodations as a mandatory thing in all schools? And so one of the best things that you are doing already for your gifted learner is that you are being able to accommodate the learning to them. You guys are doing a great job of that already with schooling with your K-12 school. So one of the things that I think is interesting is that a common trait among gifted children is something called asynchronous development. The higher the student is here, the more you're going to see asynchronous development in them. Okay, so if we were to talk a little bit about asynchronous development, it refers to the varying degrees and levels of development that children have in different developmental areas. They often develop various areas in their life at different rates. So if you were to think of it, their development is, you know, sort of out of sync. And so how many of you have seen your children that seem to be out of sync? Do any of you have similar stories or experiences that your children seem to be out of sync? So go ahead and raise your hand on that, or you can type it into the chat box and share with us. For example, you may have a 3-year-old show literacy and numeracy skills that are equivalent to a 6-year-old. They develop physically like a 4-year-old and exhibit emotional and social behaviors that are typical of a 3-year-old, which is his or her chronological age. So I just want to know, what things have you found to work for the asynchronous development in your child? So go ahead and type that into the chat box, or feel free to take the mic. What have you done so far to help you with that asynchronous development? Or if you haven't done anything yet, maybe share with us, hey, yeah, now that you're saying that, yeah, I really can see a difference in my child. Their social emotional age seems to be much younger, or maybe more mature than what their chronological age is. So I have a little 1st grade boy that in my classroom that seriously looks like a 3rd or a 4th grade boy, and his physical development is a lot higher, more up kind of around his chronological age. So I'm going to take it off the mic and let you guys share with us if you want to, and I'll just read through some of these comments in the chat box.
So this is Brandy, and one thing that I've done with, I've suggested to parents, and I've done with my own kiddos, is teaching them keyboarding skills, because oftentimes they don't have the physical fine motor skills, especially the young ones, you know, kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade. They've got these wonderful stories in their mind, but they don't have the fine motor skills in order to write them out. And so keyboarding is a really good strategy to help them to get those ideas out on paper or into the computer so they can share them with the world.
Yes, thank you, Brandy. That's a great, great point. All right, and I'm seeing here as well that a lot of you agree. A lot of you are seeing those young gifted students that that you're seeing that their fine motor skills just are not where their mind is, and it's a really common concern that I'll have parents say they just can't get it out on paper. They get so frustrated because they have trouble writing it out, and they may be a bit of a perfectionist too. So when their paper is messy, it's just really, really frustrating for them. Let's see, we have a comment here from Becky. She says, my daughter is in 1st grade. She reads at a 6th or 7th grade level, and her language skills are at a 4th or 5th grade level, but she's very emotional, and I can't expect her to behave like a typical 12-year-old. Very great point, Becky, and that's huge, because sometimes we have these little adults that seem like little lawyers, actually, that they can negotiate with you, they can talk to you and totally debate on things, and sometimes it's hard not to treat them as a little adult. We've got to remember that they are still that social emotional age or and their chronological age, that maybe if those things are off, we need to make accommodations for that. Since most gifted children they exhibit asynchronous development, it's vital for parents, teachers, and caregivers to understand where a child is at in their various areas of development. It will then be very helpful in managing their behaviors, your expectations for that child, and even their educational plans. So some of the things now is that learning to detect asynchronous development in those various areas, it's important to be able to do that. So how do you do that? Where do you find the information to detect each of those areas of development? How are you going to figure that out? Any ideas out there? Where would you guys go to be able to figure this out? Share that into the chat box or take the mic if you'd like. Okay, so this is probably why you guys are on the session, because you want to know where. Okay, good comment, Amanda. She says, I read textbooks on child development for a better understanding. That's a great resource. Finding different books out there. There's some really wonderful gifted and talented books that tons of research have been done on that offers a lot of valuable tools. We use the library as a resource for further development. We keep the libraries hopping. Great. Okay, well, these, are some ideas that I've come up with. Is definitely talk to your pediatrician. Your pediatrician has studied that development of your child. They know where they should be at physically, emotionally, mentally. They understand all the ins and outs of your child as far as those milestones. And so that's a great place to talk to. One of the first places is somebody who's a professional in that area that's focused on that. There's occupational therapists. Maybe you have some questions on how to help your child, especially with those fine motor skills, for a young, maybe kindergartner that is having trouble getting that writing out that is so, advanced. And so that's something that would be a great idea, is to be able to maybe go to an occupational therapist and find out if they have some keys to help you with their fine motor skills, some different tips. Educational psychologists, counselors, speech therapists, teachers. Contact your teacher with IDVA. They understand especially that academic level of where your children are, and they should be able to help you in those areas of development to understand what to expect. I had a mom call me the other day and says, hey, my son, I just feel like maybe I don't know if I'm being too hard on him or if this is something that is normal to expect for a second grader. And she explained the situation to me, and I talked to her and I said, you know what, that is very normal for a regular second grade student. That is very normal, and that is something that yeah, you may be expecting too much of him at this point, because physically and academically that's where he would be at. And the other areas, because kids can be gifted in more than one area. It's not just academics. It can be in leadership. It can be in artistic. It can be in a lot of different areas. And so that's why it's important to be able to also get those professionals' opinions. And yeah, your advanced learner specialist with your school. That's a great place to seek for help. Once you know your child's development ages, then it's so important to let them progress on those levels. All right? So let me say that again. Once you understand their developmental ages in the different areas of development, in their physical, their social emotional, their mental areas, when you understand and know and have a good idea of where their developmental ages are, then let them progress on those levels. Don't push or hold them back. Let them naturally progress on those levels. Okay? Another thing that a resource that I have found that has been useful is and I have a file share I'm going to share with you in a minute. All of the links that I share out in the session, everything I share out, I will send you in a file share in just a minute that you can save on your computer. But I have found a really helpful website that I found when I was first pregnant with my very first daughter, and I signed up for it. You can sign up and put your student's age and their birth date in, and then I get these automatic emails that are sent to me on my child's developmental milestones from when they were prenatal developmental newsletters that came to me, and then all the way until my daughter's 9 years old or 10 years old, and then my son is 7 and my daughter's 3. So I have 3 different kids that I'm every month getting new milestones on them and what to kind of expect at their next level of development. And I found it pretty interesting because some things are right on, some things I can go ahead and I can research their site a little bit and find other developmental milestones that would be more appropriate to get an idea where they're at. This website is called babycenter.com. Okay, and I'll send you that in just a minute. But it's something that you may want to go and sign up there because it's backed up by pediatricians that have a ton of different, experience, and they're qualified professionals that you can find expert opinions that are very right-winged, or you can find them very left-winged, or you can get them right down the middle. They have a great resource there to find the kind of advice that fits you and your parenting style as well. But it's backed up and researched, and they are professionals in it. So anyway, that's something that I find that is interesting. There's also another place that you can go when you have that rough idea at social and emotionally, physically, and you've got that education background and you're able to figure out where they're at. There's also another resource you can go to is sometimes you can pay a professional to do IQ tests that you can have performed privately, or maybe there's even placement tests that are available as well that you would like to research out. Something interesting that many people are not aware of is that you can have your student take the SAT, that college prep exam. You can have them take that as low as 3rd grade. And I would suggest seeking out academic competition searches, and many of them provide the setting for being able to offer that SAT test as young as 3rd grade. So that would give you an idea of where their mental development is at as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some more of the asynchronous tips. Allow gifted children to grow and develop based upon their appropriate level. So an academically advanced 6-year-old, for example, will not be completely satisfied if he is merely given 1st grade schoolwork. If the student needs accelerated to 2nd or 3rd grade work, then let him. That is one of the reasons you probably chose to school in our model in the first place, because the traditional school wasn't meeting their needs. You have the ability to adjust to your student's pace. This is one of the biggest accommodations you're already giving your kids right off the bat by schooling with us. If you're unsure on how to accelerate, compact, and enrich your student, then you need to visit our ALP website. We have a website called giftedresources.com. Brandy, if you want to type that into the chat box. That's also on my file share I'm going to share with you in a minute, so you'll have it. But I've done a training on motivating gifted learners is what it's called, and it goes into accelerating, compacting, and enriching your gifted child. And those are 3 very important accommodations that have to be made for a gifted student. If not, that child can underachieve, they can become depressed, they can act out emotionally. So these are some very important things. You want to be able to let them grow with their development. So if you have a 5-year-old child who's doing 8- or 9-year-old work but still acts like a 5-year-old emotionally, it's important to recognize this. Yeah, there could be other factors of hypersensitivity, overexcitability. Those are common things among gifted students, and there's a training on that too on our website, but if you want to find out more information on that. But oftentimes it's just hard to remember that these little adults, like children, are still children, and that to me explains a lot. Brandy and I both have gifted children, and it is such a difference also being a parent of a gifted child, and to be able to see and why they act the way they do. Yeah, hypersensitivity may pull into it, but also it explains a lot that it could be just their asynchronous development is completely off from what their mental development is. So it just really helps give you a lot more understanding of why your child acts the way they do, which I think is great. Be creative in managing gifted children's asynchronous development. Realize that the child's needs may not be in the normal way of doing things. For instance, it is not uncommon for parents to have a kindergarten student that's bored with coloring and cutting and wants something more challenging. I will oftentimes have that. And so I will sometimes run into this parent that will want to skip all the baby stuff in the kindergarten curriculum and the 1st grade curriculum and not do any of the coloring and any of the kindergarten. However, this student still has 5-year-old hands and needs to develop crucial fine motor skills. So be creative. A creative way is to allow them to do this, maybe getting them into piano lessons. That would help to develop those fine motor skills. Or even allowing them to color and cut more complex art projects. That's why they do so much cutting and pasting and coloring in kindergarten. It is because it's not just because the teachers are not doing anything with them and just giving them something to do. It really is to help develop those fine motor skills in those kids. They need to strengthen them. Start to learn how to crochet maybe. That's a creative way to start getting those fine motor skills going. Handwriting practice sheets should be a mandatory for these kids. Just switch things up a little so you don't miss out on the needed fine motor development. That is huge, okay? All right. A way of being creative in your child's intellectual development would be helping them to find appropriate books. So oftentimes I'm going to hear a parent that will say their young gifted student is reading second grade levels on books, and sorry, your child is a second grade level, and maybe they're reading 2 to 3 grade levels above them. And they've already read everything on the book list, and things are not appropriate anymore. So the problem that this mom runs into is, like I said, emotionally they aren't ready for some of those relationship issues that are focused into a lot of those more mature books. So where do you turn? All right, so this is kind of the meat of our lesson today, or of our session, is I have got a file transfer that I'm going to send you right now that goes through all of these different links that are great resources for you for book lists and wonderful things that we have that are great places for you to turn to. So I'm going to send you this file transfer right now while we're talking about it. So hold on just 1 minute. When it comes across to your screen, you're going to want to push yes, that you want to accept the file that I send you, and then save it in a place that you will find it easily later, like on your desktop or something. If you by chance accidentally delete it or something, you can always email us directly and get it. But this first one is called Bookmarks, and the second one, and I'll talk more about those bookmarks in just a second, is the Reading Resources and the Top 60 Book List. All right, so hold on just a second. Okay, it is saying that it won't let me load it because it's more than 10 megabytes. I don't know how it's more than 10 megabytes, but you know what? It does have a lot of stuff in it. What I'm going to do is I will work on that and see if I can try to make that file shorter. One way or the other, if I can't get this sent to you today, maybe let me save this as just an individual Word doc. Maybe it's what I need to do. Let me save this really quickly here. Reading, oops. And let's see if we can get this so that I can get it to you guys. And yes, we'll definitely put it on the website too for you guys. Okay, now let me see if I can do this. I've saved it without all of the extra stuff that was in it. So let me see if I can send this just with the links, because I think that will be the most important part. So, okay, that should be coming across right now. That's your second file. Okay, like I said, we'll put that on the website too on our www.giftedresources.com. Okay, so I'm going to take you to a few of these sites right now just so that you guys can get an idea of what you have available out there. And if you have questions, be sure to ask about them. So let me take you to this first site. And what this is a wiki space that Dr. B shared with me. I was so thankful for. And it has all these great links in one place. Kind of cool. So let's go to this first one, the Hoagie's Gifted book list. If you have not bookmarked Hoagie's yet, that is a wonderful resource for gifted ed. And questions and parents' comments and professionals' comments and research, and so it's a great resource for you. So let's go here to the Hoagie's website. And look at how wonderful here, if you were to load down this page, all of these different areas on reading. You can go to arts and crafts if your child really likes to read about arts and crafts, or maybe your child really is into information on math. These are book lists that have to do with math that would be appropriate for them. Maybe you want to find science fiction and fantasy. I could go through all those books like for my daughter. Young adult literature, vocabulary, because you may have some teens out there that you want to find appropriate. And these are book lists that they put together from different parents and what they found. I'm going to go check on this early readers one right now. So let's go to this early readers. And Brandy, are you able to see this page when I turn to the early readers? Did that come up for you guys? Let's see. I'm looking for a yes. Oh, I see a smiley face. Okay. So if you were to look here for your beginning readers, maybe you have an early toddler area, a child that you find that they're starting to you know, maybe you would want to find this as a resource with those picture books. These are your very first chapter books, your cartoon chapter books, alphabet and geometry books, longer chapter books. But this is an area for your early readers. And if you were to look down here at your beginning readers, these are the picture books. These are some great books that could really help with some of those critical thinking skills of your children to help develop them. If you were to continue to look down, these are illustrated books. So like I said, you can go to, like up here at the top, it'll just take you to that list, the first chapter books. And I can browse through these and see if any of these my kid hasn't gotten into yet that would be a great book for them to start reading, or a new series. And so this is a great resource. And then I've got another link for you here. That is there's more reading lists on the Hoagie's website that is also an additional one. Let me share with you this one called GT World. All right. And this one is another great resource that you can take your children to. Sometimes those web searches don't load for us in Illuminate for some reason. I don't know why. So hopefully it will get loading here shortly. It's still not showing on my end. Let's try clicking on it there in the chat box and see if you guys can see it now. And are you guys being able to see it on your end? Can you guys see that on your guys' end? Yeah, mine isn't coming up either for some reason. I think there must be some kind of a glitch within Blackboard right now. So it's okay though, no worries, because like I said, I have those links all for you. Yeah, it's saying it's not loading right now. So like I said, these links are all available for you in the file share. Let's try the next one. Let's see if we can go on to this one. Here we go. The Gifted Kids, Gifted Characters, and Great Books. This is by Bertie Kingore, and she has put together her own book list here. And if you were to scroll down, she has grade levels here that she would base these on, and based upon if they're just what grade level she would think that it would be appropriate for your child. And so I thought this was a good resource. Another one that I'd like to take you to is this last one here. And this is through the Minnesota Council of Gifted Ed. They have another book list that is available that is quite a good book list too, also for young readers. And so they have these different nonfiction books for precocious readers, and you can just kind of go through there and check out those lists. And so it's just a great resource for parents, especially when you're kind of stuck and say, okay, what are they going to do next? Okay, so like I said, I've sent those to you in the file transfer, and you can go over those later on after the session today and browse through them and maybe create some bookmarks on your computer so you can easily reference them when you need to. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about something really cool that Brandy and I got to do. We were able to go to the National Gifted and Talented Conference in Indianapolis this past November, and it was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. I felt like a kid in a candy shop. One of the classes that we went to, or that I attended, was through Dr. Liz Fogarty, and she is out of Carolina University in North Carolina, and in her class she shared out her top 60 book list for GT kids grades K through 8. And that link is in the file transfer I sent you, but that was one thing that I was really excited to get from her. And let me share with you her site, because she also shares on her website the presentation she did. And if you were to click here, it takes you into the presentation she taught us that day. Some wonderful resources discussed with Young Gifted Reader session that we learned that day. So everything from the session that day is right here. And then here is the book list for gifted readers. And the cool thing about it is then if you click on it, it will then take you and you can copy and paste that page into, or not copy and paste, you can just copy that whole thing and print it off. And so that's been based upon a lot of research and hours and time that she put into things, and I thought that was a really cool resource to have as well. Okay, so one of the things she talked about in her session that I thought was really worth bringing up in our session today is that she listed these facts about young gifted readers and how to identify them. She said that they read at a level 2 grades or more above their current grade. They have advanced vocabulary, and they usually enjoy reading. Some gifted kids wouldn't, but usually they do. Read to satisfy curiosity and read to learn, and that they read early and often without being taught. A lot of times they will just pick it up, and parents will, that's a very common thing. I'll have parents say that they just kind of taught themselves. And I can understand that. That just those kids, they can see things in 1 to 2 repetitions and boom, they almost memorize it like a picture. And so for those young gifted readers, one little caution I want to bring up right now, my specialty is the K2 kids in the gifted ed at our school. Brandy works with has her specialty with the 3-5. We both are K through 5 in our school, but those are kind of the topics that we kind of filter out with one another, that if there's something specific K2, I take those questions and kind of help out with them. And so one of the things that I find with sometimes, every now and then again, that will happen with a gifted student is because they pretty much taught themselves to read, sometimes they're terrible spellers when they get older. It's because they really never learned that foundation of phonics, or possibly they were homeschooled from the very beginning and mom may have skipped some of those phonics rules with them because they just looked at the word the first time, and like I said, it's almost like a picture in their mind. And so when I have new kids coming into the school that are in that kindergarten, 1st grade curriculum, I like to tell parents, hey, before we assess them out of it, will you just kind of make sure you go through this curriculum, quickly compact through it, whether it's unit assess each unit and not do all the lessons, or maybe it's 1st and 2nd semester assessments you want to do. I just want to make sure that you go over these rules with the kid so that they know them and are familiar with them, and it will really help in the long run with their spelling, especially when they, and being able to sound out words when they get into higher science classes in high school and college. That's going to be important for them to be able to sound those things out. So that's kind of an area that I just wanted to touch upon with young gifted readers. Sometimes they pick it up so quickly it almost seems like they just teach themselves. Another resource that I'd like to share with you that's going to help stretch your gifted readers is something else that Dr. Fogarty mentioned in her class. She was able to work with the SEMR project that Dr. Sally Reese and Dr. Joe Renzulli are well known for, their research in this area. Dr. Reese is married. Let me get my thing here. Dr. Reese is right here, and this is Dr. Renzulli. She's married to him, and they're 2 names that are pretty popular in the gifted community. They're kind of like the rock stars of gifted ed, and I'm not going to lie, I was a little starstruck and really excited that I got to meet them and take a session from them at the Gifted National Conference. It was pretty cool. So yeah, I got my picture taken with them. And the school-wide enrichment model, though, that's what I want to talk about. Not so much share that I was so excited about it. But this school-wide enrichment model was what this class was based upon. And what it is designed to do is to help all kids within a classroom raise their level of achievement in reading. There's some wonderful strategies that they offer in the model, and what I've included is their website if you're interested in learning more about the school-wide enrichment reading model, and that is on the file share. But the reason I bring it up on this session is because they have designed these bookmarks to use with students when they're reading, and they're meant to stretch your young reader to use higher order thinking skills. And so this would be a great idea to print these off, and I think that's why my file transfer was so huge, because I have all the English bookmarks that they created as well as the Spanish ones. That both of them are available on that one PDF document. And like I said, we'll put these up onto, or they're actually, you can locate them on the file transfer I sent you on their website. Okay, so if you look here at they have them titled different things. They have character, plot, setting, illustration, biography, theme. They have all these different main ideas to these bookmark cards, and you can cut them up and have a child just take one out of a stack, and that's what they're going to use for their reading that day. And you're using higher order thinking skills to be able to help them synthesize or make inferences. You're being able to ask them these questions that are going to help them to stretch a little bit. So here's a knowledge question. It's lower on the hierarchy of questioning, but it says list all the places that the story took place. So that's a knowledge question, being able to regurgitate information. If you have here, why did the author place the story in this location? Well, they're going to have to make some inferences to figure out why they think that the author did that. If you were to look at the synthesis question, if you were the author, what further episodes, events, or discoveries would you have the characters participate in? So I understand some of these maybe there's all different kinds. There's like, I don't know, 8 or 10 different character bookmarks, 8 or 10 setting ones. You know what I'm saying? So there's a ton of different ones. If you don't like the questions on one, go to another one. And those would be a great idea. What I saw that they had in a particular school that they implemented this model is they copied all these off, and then they laminated them, and they just had them in a big like can, and the kids would take one out, and that's what they used when they went to their teacher, and their teacher asked them these questions on the book that they were reading at the time. And it's a great way to see what your kids are learning in the story, and helping them to do stretching in that. Stretching is what it's all about. So I really like this little cartoon. Susan, please put away Moby Dick. It's time for your silent e-review, your review sheet. So this is one of the clips that Dr. Fogarty used, and I thought it was really quite appropriate. I cannot tell you how many people out there just don't get these GT kids. And it's just so important that we are making these accommodations for these guys. 50% of gifted children were reported as reading easy text by age 4. Only 22% of non-gifted children did so. Let me repeat that. So 50% of gifted children were reported as reading easy text by age 4. While only 22% of non-gifted children did so. So you can see it is so important. These kids, we have got to make accommodations for them. Taking it back here to the beginning, if we are not doing this and making accommodations and being able to stretch them and feed their hunger and thirst for knowledge, it won't only, it's something that they can become a student that's going to underachieve. They'll misbehave and act out. They can even suffer from depression if we are not providing accommodations for these kids. You can make a difference. You are your child's first and most influential teacher. No one loves or knows your child like you do. You have an amazing opportunity to help your child reach their potential. So keep up the great work. You guys are doing amazing jobs out there, and just by being on this session today is just huge, because you're another step closer to being able to satisfy their hunger and thirst for that knowledge. I want to share with you guys a really great video that just kind of gave me such excitement when I watched it, because you never know who your child will become. And you never know the differences that you're making in their life right now, how it will affect them in the future, you know. And so let me share with you this really quick little 3-minute video clip, and then we'll come back together. Give me a green check mark when you're finished watching the video. I'll put it into the URL. If it doesn't load for you, you can click on it into the chat box, and it should load there for you too. Okay, here you go. Okay, it looks like the majority of you are finished with the video clip. So just something to mention here at the end. You have no idea what your child can become, but with your help, guidance, and love, they can make their dreams come true. Help them to believe in their dreams, dare them to chase it, and help them to take a chance and try. So good luck with everything. Please do come and visit our website. We would love for you guys to check it out because, like I said, there is a lot of resources and trainings that we've done, especially on some of the topics we've talked about today with that compacting, enrichment, and acceleration. And please check out, this is our website. This is a blog that Dr. B has been doing, and this is our Facebook page, and we're also on Pinterest. So we've got a pretty big following nationwide now. It's kind of fun and cool that parents can get together and visit with one another, talk to one another. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. What are you seeing? And get resources. It's just a great place to collaborate with one another. So thank you so much for attending today. If you have any questions at this time, we'd love to address those. But thank you for coming, and again, we appreciate you. So keep up the great work. Take care. Bye-bye.